What happens when you mix a cozy city builder with the geometric brutalism of Minecraft? Stir in Anno's brain-tickling mechanics and stack it all together like a game of chaotic Tetris. Then wrap it in a storybook swagger of Puss in Boots and drop it into an age of whisker-twirling, rum-swilling, buccaneering colonialism. You get Whiskerwood. No, that's not a euphemism for a lady's undercarriage. Behave. It's a charming city builder. There's a demo of this available for anyone to try at the moment, so try I have. To buy or not to buy? That is the question. And if you're interested in knowing what the answer is, stick around and I'll do my best to find out for you. This is Whiskerwood, and I am Lord Barra. So here we are taking a look at Whiskerwood, and here's what the developer has to say for themselves. Establish a home for your industrious mice under the oppressive paw of your cat overlords in this city builder featuring complex simulations, intricate production chains, and an age-old rivalry between cat and mouse. Let me sum it up now for those people who are just too busy to hang around. This is pretty much a traditional city builder with a predictable amount of depth that is satisfyingly challenging in kind of a fresh package. For those of you who want to know a little bit more, we are currently on the game setup screen. There are 3 scenarios to pick from, Far Frontier, Pirate Seas and this Monarch Logistics. They're not really easy, medium, hard either. They're more changing the core mechanics of the game depending on how you would prefer to play. So for example, there are 2 enemy factions, the Claws and the Paws. Choosing Pirate Seas as your scenario will up the aggressiveness of the Claws and reduce the frequency of the Paws. I'll talk about this later. But as a comparison, the Monarch Logistics scenario doesn't alter the threat level in any way. Instead, it enables you to have better and faster builders in your colony. So my point is, these scenarios aren't really about changing the difficulty balance of the game. They're more about changing the core dynamics of the game, how the game actually works as you play it. I think that's quite unique, and I quite enjoyed the different challenges. But as you saw, the rest of the game can be customized pretty much in depth, as is the custom nowadays, so you can tailor your experience. This is what the game looks like when you're dropped in. You'll get this procedurally generated archipelago, or perhaps you've chosen an island or something, so the map variety is going to be different each time. And you start off with a ship, and then you basically just choose where you're going to start your game. So you put down a dock, and that's where you're going to start building from. Looking around at the map here, you can see why I would make that comparison to Minecraft. It looks very similar in aesthetic. You've got these blocky shapes and the terrain is stacked like Lego. I'll talk about what that means for building colonies later on, but obviously it means that you're going to be thinking about height as well as just spreading out across the islands. But it's a grid-based system essentially, with all of the traditional production chains and logistics that you come to expect from city builders within this unique aesthetic of cat and mouse. You are a colony essentially of mice, and the king is a cat, and the game loop is he demands taxes, and there are pirates to contend with, which will make demands on you. So while you're trying to build your little mouse colony out of effectively mouse slaves, you always need to make sure that you're overproducing the products that you're making in order to satisfy the demands of the king and these pirates. And that's the thing about the scenarios that you can pick, because if you didn't like that sense of being rushed to constantly satisfy the taxes or the pirates, then you can pick the scenario that reduces that. But they don't eliminate it completely, so it's always kind of in the back of your mind, you still need to do these things. I also made the comparison that this is a little bit like Tetris, and the reason for that comparison is when you're building and placing things down, because you're limited very much by space, especially initially, you really have to think very carefully about where you place buildings. But interestingly, the way that the buildings are designed, they slot together in a really satisfying way. And because of these height differences that you get everywhere, they kind of stack on each other as well. And you're not even necessarily doing it because you're thinking about how to make things more efficient. You're doing it because you're limited on space. And it becomes a challenge then of how to make things efficient but also fit into the land that you've got. And so what surprised me about this most of all is how min-maxy you have to be in order to survive. So if min-maxing was something that you enjoyed doing in City Builders, this is absolutely going to tick that box. You're going to find yourself spending a lot of time making sure that you've got the right characteristic of colonists working in the right building so that you can maximize their output and that they don't live too far away, and all of that. It can get pretty in depth, I think, especially as your colony grows and grows. And grow it will, because there are a lot of buildings to unlock. Here's the research page, and as you can see, you buy them via resources that you get, so you need to go through in a specific way to unlock them in a chain. So as you can see there are the majority of the buildings that I haven't even unlocked at this point. Some of them can be unlocked as well through completing quests via in-game activities. And clearly I don't know what the end game will look like, but my sense is it might end up being very Factorio-esque in that you've got very complicated interlinked production chains across multiple islands and things like that, turning one commodity into another in order to maximize the amount of profit that you can make for it, so that you can make money and meet your tax demands. So that's pretty robust, but when it comes to something like diplomacy, there isn't really much to it. There are policies which you can see here that you can enact within your own colony, but I don't know if that classes as diplomacy. But as you can see, the three factions that are available here, Weasels, Whiskers and Claws, by satisfying them and their demands that they make in the world, then you'll be able to unlock different kinds of policies that you can force upon your colonist slave mice. I actually feel quite bad for the mice. I feel like they get treated very poorly. At least I treat them very poorly. Maybe you're kind of benevolent. I wasn't. There was on multiple occasions starvation and death from cold, because within the game there is also day and night cycles and seasonality. So there's a whole season of winter which many of my mice all perished in, and I didn't stock enough food because I didn't grow enough food or gather enough food. So this is an interesting part of the game design which I'm not entirely sure how I feel about. But part of the day-night cycle is you build during the day, and at night it's kind of tallies up everything that you manage to do. And everybody gets fed and everybody gets paid and you pay your taxes. Although I like the day and night cycle, I don't like the way that it's punctuated so that you have to click a button to start the next day. For me, whatever I was doing, it always felt like I was just rushing to get to the end of the day. And if you do well, you get a reward, and if you do poorly, you'll get punished. And punishment is a big issue in the game because if you don't pay your taxes, you'll also be punished. As you can see here, where they just destroy everything that you've built. Yeah, I didn't not pay my taxes again after that. Fail to pay your taxes and gunboats will come around and cannonball you back into the Stone Age. Same goes for the pirates as well. If you refuse to meet their demands, they will also cannonball you back to the Stone Age. Like I said though, you can choose a scenario which tones all of that down, but it never goes away. Not entirely, so pick your poison, I suppose. All in all, I like this a lot. Despite a few little niggles that I have here and there, it scratches that desire to want to min-max my way to victory by terraforming the entire map and turning it into a hyper-productive slave mouse utopia. Well, it'd be a utopia for me, not for the mice, obviously. All in all though, there's a lot of depth to this. a lot of things that I haven't touched on, like illness and death to contend with, along with cold and food scarcity. It's a nicely satisfying game loop. I don't think they need the day and night cycle, but I think it would work without it personally. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking nonsense. Let me know what you think in the comments, because that's all I've got time for. So I'll just say, if you have been, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or if you want to join as a member and let me know if you want to see me do more game reviews, then feel free to hit up one of the links in the description. Until next time, this has been Whiskerwood, and I have been Lord Bara. There have been lots of punishments that your partner will, under no circumstances are you to yield.